Cathaoirleach. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for their contributions, and including yourselves, ministers. And you will know at this stage that it is an issue I've been talking about for a long time. And I suppose what I hear, I welcome some aspects, because I hear that we all seem to be largely in agreement. But it wouldn't be the first time we'd be in debates here where people are saying they're in agreement and yet actions maybe don't always match that. But I do think what I like to see is people talking about the workers and the wages in the sector, the providers and the sustainability issue, and the issue of fees, because they have always been the three key issues. And I feel like that message, at least anyway, to look at the positives, is getting out there. From my point of view, I suppose I first brought forward a motion in relation to this in 2017, and that was after a committee report, and now Minister Rabbitte was on that committee, and there was unanimous support for both that report and the motion that night in the Dáil, and yet we didn't really see any changes. Now I appreciate it was, you're not yourself, Minister, that was in position at the time, but then in July 2020, shortly after government was formed, one of the first motions we brought forward was again in relation to childcare in the early years, and here we are a year and 3 months later. So when you say you have a new funding model and a new vision, for a lot of people, they're wondering when is that actually going to kick in. And in fairness to everybody involved in this, the sector, and I think you saw that as well yourself today, how welcoming they were when you actually went out and you were speaking to them. Nobody expects that this is going to happen overnight. Everybody knows it's going to take time, and everyone knows it's going to take significant investment, and that's where we do need to get to. We do need to get to publicly funded childcare early years sector, and it will take time, but we need to see some action. We need to see the start of that. You can't have a plan on paper and expect people to constantly, have trust and faith in you if they don't actually see any actions coming out of that. And I think that's one of the key things, and I would be really hopeful that in next week's budget we will see the start of that investment in terms of the workers, in terms of the providers, and in terms of fees for parents. Because, we all could tell countless stories all day and all night in here of the various issues. And I think some of the examples that we heard at committee today of those working in the sector who can't actually afford, on kind of unexpected expenses, to actually go and be qualified and do your degree and be working away for years, and then you're still in that situation. It's very, very disheartening. And for providers who are largely women, that possibly started out with this service in their home, and it maybe grew from there, and now all of a sudden they're totally bogged down in paperwork and regulation, and nobody has an issue with rules and regulation, particularly when it comes to children. However, there needs to be a common sense approach to that as well. So I always try and focus on the three issues of fees, sustainability and wages, but there is obviously other issues too around the inspections, and maybe having one body to do the inspections. But I think that's to try and focus the mind on those issues. That's why I always keep it to that. I want to finish on a quote from somebody who works in the early years, who over the weekend was in contact with me, and he actually said, it's very simple, we can't continue as we are, we need a new fairer way for everyone. And I really think that sums it up. It really is that simple. And as I said, no one expects it to be overnight changes, but they do expect some action, something that they can hold on to. Somebody at committee today said they need that hope, that level of hope. So there does need to be something in the budget next week, and I really hope that there will be. As I said, we obviously can't support the amendment. I don't support the amendment, and I am disappointed. And from my point of view, I think it's coming up on 6 years now since 2016 raising this, and some people in here will tell you that's not very long. To me, it seems like a very long time to be constantly raising the same issue. And while I feel the message is getting across maybe a little bit more, we still actually have to do something tangible, something that people can see and hold on to. So we won't be supporting the amendment, but I do very much look forward to the budget next week, and really hope that there's something in it for those working in the sector, for those providing the sector, and for the parents that rely on it, and ultimately for our children who benefit from this. And sometimes we forget that in the middle of it all, the benefits that there is for children in the early years sector. So thank you very much.